Hey guys, it's Amy at Zoe Beck, and today I'm going to do a book tag. I'm going to do the TBR Book Tag. I believe it was made by a blog, A Perfection Called Books. I've linked them down below. I saw this originally on Books and Lala a couple months ago, and then yesterday I saw it on Peter Likes Books. So I've listed both of their channels down below, their videos on it. So anyway, I picked this one because I have so many books on my TBR, so I thought it would be fun. So here we go. So question number one is, how do you keep track of your TBR pile? In the past, I didn't. I kept my books by genre, and I knew usually what book I'd read last in a series, and I knew which books were my unread books, and I just would pick from that section more and looking for what I felt like reading, and so I didn't actually know the number. Now, in May, I decided to write them all down, all the books that were the next to be read, or the first one in a series, or a book that I didn't need to read anything before it in order to enjoy it. And I found out I had a lot of books. So I created a TBR jar, which what I do is I draw at least once a month. Right now I'm just doing it once a month until I get used to it. And I draw a pig, and it can be anything. So I had written all my stuff down in Excel, and then I cut them out. And every month with my new books, I type those in, cut them out, and put them in the jar before I pick. So now I have a little better handle on how many books I have. I still don't know if I'm keeping track really well of what I have. Like, I mark now which ones I've read, or I've DNF'd, or I got rid of. And I'll do that going forward. Again, it's only been a couple months, so we'll get better at that. But I don't know if that's really keeping track of it. It at least keeps me kind of a little bit more understand how many books I really do own. So we'll see how it works. Number two, is your TBR mostly print or ebook? I would say print. I do have a lot of stuff on my Kindle, and I do read here and there. Some books I just get on my Kindle, like a lot of short stories and novellas from some of my favorite authors, or some authors I've never tried before. They'll have a free, short story or novella before, like, whatever series they're writing. So it's kind of a taste of how they write, and you can choose. So I have a lot of stuff like that. I do also have a lot of novels on my Kindle that I forgot I bought. So I'm going to actually do the same thing as I did with my TBR jar and do another one for ebooks. So maybe I'll draw a physical book as well as an ebook, and try to get through on both sides. And that's kind of my thought. What do you guys think? Do you think that'll work if I do an ebook one and a print, or should I mix them together? I don't know. Let me know. So number three, how do you determine which book from your TBR to read next? Usually depends on what's happening. So I have a book club that meets every second Tuesday, and I have to get the book done before then. I would like to get the book done before then, so I can enjoy the discussion. So like last month, I actually mistimed, and I had to stop a book I was really involved in and enjoying, and I had to stop it in order to read the book for the book club. I'm still kind of mad about that. But that was my own fault. I picked up a book I probably shouldn't have. I should have picked up the book club book first, finish that, and then get to the book I really wanted to read. But anyway, so this next month will be a little bit different, hopefully, because it's a reread. I'm reading China Milliville. I don't know how to say his last name, sorry. The City in the City. I read this about 4 years ago. So I'm hoping I remember a lot of it once I start it. Right now, off the top of my head, all I know is kind of a detective story with two cities that kind of overlap, but I don't remember a whole lot about it. And so I'm gonna reread this in the next couple weeks before the next meeting. So I'm hoping it not to interfere with my other readings so as much as this time did, because that's kind of upsetting. But beyond that, Then I read mostly to mood. Like, my favorite authors get first dibs on what I'm reading, unless there's library books. Now again, I love the library. But I have to curb how much I'm getting at the library right now, because I have so many books now, I realize, on my bookshelf that I want to read, and I want to read now. I don't want to keep putting them off for the cool new books that I don't want to pay for that I'm getting from the library. So I'm cutting back a little bit. Not a whole lot, since this last month I pulled out 3 books. One of them I've already read. The other one I've kind of DNF'd. And then the third one I'm going to try to read this weekend, so it'll go back before it's due. But I have another book already waiting for me at the library, and I have 2 that are far out for holds, which I don't want to cancel. I still want them. So it's not like I'm stopping. I'm just slowing down a little bit to maybe 1 or 2 things a month from the library instead of pulling out a whole lot, like at least 4 or 5, and trying to get those done instead of the books I already own. So anyway, so I guess it all comes as like, it's a timing thing. And again, being that I work with planning and scheduling at work, my brain is always thinking, well, how much time do I have to read that book if I have the library book, or if I have, I have to get it by the book club by this time. So I don't know. I guess maybe that, I don't know if that's a good answer. You have to let me know. Question number 4 is a book that's been on your TBR the longest. I have books that have been on my shelves for years. I mean, a couple decades, probably. I don't know. Some of them I plan to read at some point. Some are classics that I got in college that I'm just like, oh, someday I'll read them, but not right yet. So they're technically on my TBR, but they're not like ones I really want to read. Like I really want to read. They're like ones I think I should read, or I'll get to it at some point. But this book I bought 11 years ago when I was in Australia, and I was so excited to get it in paperback, I think, at the time, because I think it was only hardback here. And it was a cool, it's a really cool cover. But it was Kafka on the Shore by Haruki Murakami. And I love it. Look at the kitty. And look at the kitty butt. And then the fish on the side. Anyway, sorry. So I was excited to buy this because I think that was my first experience of seeing maybe it's not the first one, but it was cool to see a book that I knew was in hardback, and I didn't want to pay for that. And then it was paperback there, and it was pretty cool. Anyway, so I've had this book for 11 years, and I've not read it. Now, I've read almost everything of Murakami except for the short stories. I'm kind of hit and miss for short stories with anybody, so that's kind of one of the things I'm trying to work on. But the only other book I have not read by him is of the fiction stuff, is the 2 older novels that just came out together, Wind and Pinball. And so at some point I'm going to read those too. That's also on my list, but I've only had the book a few months. This book I've had for 11 years, and I keep looking at it going, I need to read this. I need to read this. I think I read the first chapter, not the whole chapter, right after I bought it, but I was in the middle of some other books while I was on vacation and didn't return to this. I go, I'll read it later. Well, it's later. So I'm going to go with this as my longest one. I've been on my list that I really want to read that I just have not made the time for. So anyway, number 5, a book that you recently added to your TBR. I think I succumbed to some BookTube hype when I bought this book. I'm not sure how it's going to go. It is a genre that I like, that I don't read a whole lot of, but I do read from time to time. So it's a sci-fi book, The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. I'm not sure I would have picked this up on my own. Again, this is the UK cover, or what, our covers here in the US. I would never have picked up the book by the way they look. Just, off the shelf. Like, it just didn't call to me, but I mean, this one at least did. And again, I've heard a lot of things about this one and its companion novel, which I can't think of right now, but the point is that I don't know if I'm going to like this. I hope I do. I've heard a lot of really good things, and I haven't heard a lot of bad things. So I'm hoping that it'll be good. But that's one I just bought that on Tuesday. Totally spur of the moment buy, because it was a good price. So anyway, number 6 is a book on your TBR strictly because of its beautiful cover. Now, I am not one of those people who buys books for their covers. Now, I am attracted to covers, and I will pick up a book at the bookshelf, at the bookstore off the shelf to look at it if the cover drew me in. I mean, that's totally fair. Like, I get that. I pick things up all the time that way. But I don't physically buy anything because of the cover. I'm not big for displaying my books. Now, I have one book displayed here, the Dragonbone Chair. And the only reason why it's like that right this minute is because once I finish The Witchwood Crown by Tad Williams, which is the next series that is attached to this is the companion series or the next series. Anyway, the point is it's going to be sitting there next to it, and it's humongous, and it's going to need that spot. It's just holding the spot for the book and for probably the next book. And then when the third of the trilogy comes out, you know, second one's not out yet. I mean, the second and third come out, then they'll have to go there, so it needs the space. And I'll have to move stuff around again. Anyway, so that's a placeholder. I don't know. That's the only book I have that's doing that right now. I don't display my books. I don't need to display my books, I don't think. When I have friends and family come over and they look at my bookshelves, they're too overwhelmed with how many books I have anyway. There's no point to point out what books I have. I mean, I don't mind them looking through them. So, and I also don't want to waste the space of displaying that much. As I said, I usually know where I put them and I can find them because I have most everything by genre. So, I don't know. So I don't buy by cover. So, okay, that was a little rant on the whole strictly for beautiful covers. I understand people saying, oh, beautiful cover, I love this cover. And what I just said about the long way to a strong, the long way to a small angry planet is I like this cover better than the other one. But again, I didn't buy it because of the cover. So the book I'm going to show, just for the heck of it, is a fantasy novel that I picked up probably first because of the cool axe. So The Grimm Company by Luke Skull. I don't know a whole lot about this. I haven't heard anybody talk about this. I don't know if anybody who's read it. But it just sounded really cool when it talks about the gods are dead and that the world is desperately in need of heroes, and what they get instead is a ragtag band of old warriors. And I'm kind of attracted to, or at least want to try some of the grimdark stuff. And since it says Grimm Company, I'm kind of thinking it's on that level. I don't know. I have a couple other grimdark stuff that I want to read too. But I like it because it's, I like the idea of old warriors, you know, going to battle and stuff. I don't know. Just maybe because I'm getting older. I don't know. I just think it's kind of cool. So anyway, so I would not say this is strictly a cover buy. And I'm not going to say this is a beautiful cover. But my point is that I pick up books because I'm attracted to something on the cover, and then I read what they're about, and then I buy them. So I don't buy things strictly because of the covers. That was the little rant. Sorry. Sorry. I'm gonna die here. Talking too much. Anyway. So 7 is a book on your TBR that you never plan on reading. Now, again, this is another one where I don't like to say I'm never going to read something. Like, I mean, there's a couple books I could probably say I am never going to read. But to actually say they're on my TBR that I'm never going to read is kind of a misnomer for me. I think there are a couple books that it's going to be a struggle for me to get to because they're, you know, somewhere in the series and I haven't got that far and, you know, that kind of thing. But this is a book that I'm not going to read until the third book is announced. And that is The Wise Man's Fear by Patrick Rothfuss. And I think it goes without saying is I read the first book and I almost picked this book up right after it because I think I read the first book when this came out. And the only reason I didn't pick this up right away is because at the time it was still in hardback. So I didn't pick it up because I didn't want to pay for it, and the library the holds were too long. So I was like, oh, I'll just wait. Well, again, it took a while, so I went on the back burner. I didn't think about it. We still don't have the third book. So I'm kind of going, I think I'm going to wait and read this when the third book is actually like announced and like has a publication date, and there's an end in sight that I'm going to get to read that series to completion. When it's a trilogy, it's really hard for me when they don't have set, like they know when it's going to end. I have a lot of ongoing series. I don't have a problem with that when they're small books, you know, and I'm getting some once a year, some a little bit more than that, or, you know, once every other year, or, you know, like at least there's some time frame, but 5 to 10 years for each book. 5, this is over, what, 6, 7, I don't know. Anyway, so I'm not going to say never, but it's as close as it's going to get. Won't be read until the other book is announced or coming out. Let's put this one first. So, number 8 is an unpublished book on your TBR that you're excited for. So, So I'm going to say, let's see here, Nalini Singh's Archangel's Viper, which is book number 10 in the Guild Hunters series. Now again, this is a paranormal romance series. She has excellent world building. There are angels, archangels, vampires. Sorry, it's vampires, not werewolves. Sorry. Very important. It's vampires. And kick-ass, humans as well. So it's a cool world, cool imagining world has a lot of stuff that's, nowadays, but the whole world's different because, archangels are in charge of everything. It's really kind of cool. Anyway, so this is book number 10, and I'm looking forward to that. So that's, it's just a fun, exciting read, and I can't wait. And it's, end of September. I think September 27th is when that comes out. So number 9, a book on your TBR that basically everyone's read but you. I don't know if this is exactly true if everybody's read this. I know this is a book that a lot of friends and family have read that tell me I should read it. So I thought I'd put this one out. So it's 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. And I think that's how you say his name. Sorry. I don't know a whole lot about this except that, it's a winning prize winner, and I just it's just one of those books that I was told I should read like many years ago, and I just never got around to it. So I think a lot of people have read that. Because again, it's been out for a while, so I don't know, that's my answer to that question. I don't know. And then number 10 is a book on your TBR that everyone recommends to you. So this is kind of the same thing. Either of these books probably count for the same thing because they're the same. They're books that other people have read that they said I should read it. The other one is A Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. I think that's how I said his name. Sorry. I don't know a whole lot about this one either, except it's about a book and how their copies are disappearing, and the one who picked this book to be his book has trying to figure out why they're all disappearing, and that's about all I know about this book. But I have heard a lot of things about it, even more recently on BookTube than I have before, but I have friends and relatives who read this book years ago and told me I needed to read it. And I've had this copy. I think even my aunt might have given this to me. I don't remember, but I have this copy, or she was reading it and told me I had to go get it. It's one of the two. So anyway, that's a book I would say I get recommended. Yeah, I don't know. I read a lot of stuff people recommend to me. That's the only one I can think of right off that's not read. So number 11 is a book on your TBR that you're dying to read, and that would be Kings of the Wild by Nicholas Ames. Now, I saw this a couple months ago before it came out on somebody's channel. I can't think whose it is right now. If I remember, I'll put them down below. Might be Reading Roads. And I really enjoyed the description of this because these are old guys who have already done their mercenary stuff, and then they've gone to retire. And then one of them calls them all back to say, hey, I need help. And they all go back and to do, try to do their mercenary work again. And again, it's the same kind of thing as the Grimm Company. It kind of intrigues me because they're older. So they're supposed to be wiser, but we don't know if they are or not. So I just like the idea of this. So, because especially when it says on the back, glory never gets old and it's time to get the band back together. I just think that's funny. I mean, that's kind of goofy, but I still like the idea. So this one I'm dying to read, and the only reason I haven't picked it up is because every time I go to say, okay, I can read this next, something else comes that draws my attention away. So I am going to read this in the next few months. That is really what I want to do. So, and then question number 12 is, how many books are on your TBR shelf? Now again, I don't have a shelf. I have a list. And I've made that, and I now have a TBR jar, as I showed you. And at this moment, I have 390 printed books that are on my TBR jar in my, that's the pile. I have a lot. And again, that does not count if I've bought ones past the book that next I need to read. So like, let's say I started a series and there are 6 books, and I've bought almost all of them, but I've only read the first book. I only counted the next book that I haven't read, so number 2. So I have quite a few books that are also in certain series that I have more past where I've read. But again, I've always read the first book to find out if I want to continue with that series. So I have about 390. And I have a couple of books coming from Book Depository later this month. So, Dad, Amy. Anyway, so I'm not saying I'm going to curb my buying. I'm not saying that at all. I just need to read more of my home stuff. So that's why I was talking about kind of cutting back on my library usage. Just for, again, for at least for 5 or 6 months, if I could cut back a little bit and just read what I own, I think I'll do a lot better. So, or at least get some of my TBR read. So, well, that's it. That's the TBR book tag. Hope that wasn't too long. I mean, just over 20 minutes, so sorry about that. But I do talk a lot, and I talk about stuff, so I don't know if that's good or bad. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you have any comments or say, hey, you do need to read that book, I'd like to hear from you guys. So I'll talk to you later. Bye.